So this little outbuilding, I mean, that was here when we bought the camp, obviously, so that's been here 30 years. And just a story about my old man, I started tearing it down 20 years ago. Started burning some of the boards. And yeah, I still hear about that to this day. I mean, it's such a wonderful building that we could use those parts for something that you don't touch that. That's all you need to know about my old man. Loco! If there was a Northern Ontario edition of Hoarders, he'd be in it. I seriously, tonight when we have a campfire, whatever he throws on the fire, he'll go on about how those boards burn fine and that you don't need to be pulling down the outbuildings. That was 20 years ago! One of us, well, I'm surprised we've gone on as many adventures as we have, and we've both come out of the bush every time, because we don't always see. That's about all you need to know about that. What do you got, buddy? Entrance to an underground squatch cavern system here in the rocks. Could be, could very well be, I don't know. So on top of this mound here, there's a bunch of little stones lined up. I didn't do that. There's stones in here, there's 3 or 4 of them lined up across here. Well, it's from this tree that fell over. That's the root system, which is pretty much rotted away now. And the inside of those roots are all kinds of rocks. So that's all full of rocks. And they will be left sitting here, which is, this is rock underneath, a big rock. There's the tip of it right there. You know, some of these stones are going to be left sitting on there, like these ones, when all this root system finishes rotting away. Somebody walking through the bush is going to find that at some point. Oh, look, the stones lined up. Well, perfectly natural. Something I thought was really cool here, I'll just point out, you can see this is old. It's probably over a year old. Very dry. There's no green in there. Really, really dry. But look, there's still green shoots coming off of that snapped. So, you know, you would think that this would be dead. You look at that. What it is if we peel back the bark, oh, I didn't mean to break that off, but there's still green just in the outside portion of the bark. So it's the bark, the outside bark, that's bringing water up, that's facilitating the new growth. All those cells, they're dry, they're hard as a rock. There's nothing transported there. It's all just in the outside of the bark, and you can see it, it's still green. You have too much energy, you know that? We're supposed to be taking a rest here. What are you doing? Just way too windy for us to take the boat and go up. I wanted to go up about 15 kilometers up above and check some of those rivers. We'll have to do that in another adventure. For today, we're not going too far. It's just too windy and too rough out there. Wood ducks. Look at the size of those rocks. That's glacial for sure. Yeah, it kind of looks like a Wookiee. Oh, monster. Well, it is a pickerel, but it's not a keeper. 4:30 in the morning, can't sleep. Allergies so bad, so I don't come up to this camp. Looks like a scene out of a horror movie or something.
Would you like more fish than that this morning?
Nope. Well, looks good. Fresh fish and pea meal. Well, other than the screaming account of the unknown animal which has got me into this whole Bigfoot thing from 20 years ago, and the orange orbs from 4 or 5 years ago, I only have one other story of something weird happening in the bush. And that was, I was invited to do photography, wildlife photography, on a native reserve. I'm not going to say which one. And I was looking for moose. And I was way off, probably 7-8 miles behind the reserve on four-wheeler trails, by myself with my camera. I had just left a nice little swampy area, and I was actually walking back up to where I had parked the vehicle, which was about a mile away. And it was almost, I hate to say, it sounds cliche, like there was a mist, but in front of me, there was a mist coming through the forest, and I could hear chanting. At first I didn't know what it was. And it got louder, and it got closer. This is the weird part. I stopped when I heard it, and it wasn't like, hey, I hear something off in the distance, and I can't figure out what it is. I heard it, I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was coming towards me. It got louder, and I could discern drumming and chanting, and it was just like a native ceremony, like a drum ceremony. And it actually got louder and closer, and it was all around me. It lasted about 45 seconds, and then it drifted away behind me. Like, it came and it went. And that was the weird part. It wasn't like I hear something off in the distance. it surrounded me, and then it drifted off on the wind, and it lasted, close to a minute, something like that. Definitely could not explain that. I've never had an experience like that before since, and I was on native land, so I don't know. Everybody asks me, says, well, are you sure they weren't just having a ceremony off in the teepee, over the next hill or on the next ridge? Absolutely not. It wasn't like a distant thing. It was something that came closer and went behind me, it went right past me in another direction. I didn't see anything, and the mist kind of cleared up and went with it. That's the kind of ironic part that sounds like all the stories you hear online, but it was just like that. Like it came and went with the mist.
Oh yeah, I believe it's something. Too many people have made reports, and they weren't all hoaxes. That's for sure. Oh yeah, I don't.
So what do you think about these people that are saying, well, it's, has any link to UFO or trans?
Well, they've said that we've seen that for years. They made a movie on that, didn't they? Said that they were brought here to mine gold. No, I've seen that before. They called them. I've seen that in Ancient Aliens where they talk about that. Some people say, "Oh, they were brought here from a different galaxy, and they did this and they did that. They were the workers, and they just let them go." Well, I don't know. They could have been some of my ancestors, drunken Irishmen. I don't know. Hairy buggers.
I don't know that I buy any of that, and so if you're watching the channel, you guys already know my take on it. I try to keep it real, and if you're going to look for something, you would never be able to prove that something like that exists.
I mean, I traveled this country, I believe, more than anybody that's out there now. All my friends, I mean, I've lost a few good friends that died young, and they always traveled the bush or great bushmen. And I don't think any one of those guys has seen any kind of a track that we couldn't tell you what it was. It just, Harvey Jessup, same thing. He was the old tracker. Harv would track all over. I'd tell him, pick that up, man, just like a bloodhound. Let's go over the mountain.
There's no doubt there. I mean, Harv taught me a lot. Everything I know about tracking is from Harv. And I did have a chance to ask him, and he's never seen anything.
Never seen anything that went down. No, I'm telling you, we never did. I've seen tracks. I said, oh, well, what's that? And I'm looking, but I realized, okay, it's just a moose track, and you're just seeing the front point or something coming out of a swamp through the leaves or whatever, but never anything that looked like whatever they show, a squatch track that's 15 inches long and it looks like a flipper off a Aquaman. I mean, God. I mean, but
No, that's next week where we get Aquaman crossbreeding with Sasquatch.
Might have seen him out there tonight. I don't know. I don't know about old Lake Temiskaming Tilly out there or something, whatever that one is. But there's definitely lots of stuff in this world that we haven't even seen. And some people have seen, and other people haven't. Behind everything in this world, where they talk about legends of such and such, there's a reason for it. I believe there's a reason for it. When they talk about werewolves, where did that story start? Maybe that was just a wolf and that drew into something else. They talk about a vampire. Where did that start? Some crazy psychopath that was killing people and drinking their blood, but way back in time. There's always been a story that started something, and from the beginning of time, there's always been something that's gone on to start that story. Somebody's seen something, and it could be just a gorilla type animal, and that could be what it is, because every country you go to, there's a different name for it. Abdominal snowman, well, that's the Yahtzee,
the Yahtzee.
Not the Yahtzee, but he only played Yahtzee a couple times up on the mountains in Tibet. That's what it was. What do they call that? That is
the Yeti.
Yeti. No, but there's something else too that I watched before.
Oh, there's 100 names, and that's what I was going to say. Lends credence to the whole thing is that every native tribe in North America pretty much has a name and a description of these things, and they only kept track of real things. So why would this be there if it's not a real thing? That being said, next week we're going to go look for the Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, and a lot of people don't even know that there was giants. All kinds of giants. They used to fight, and there were natives that put that in their caves and everything. They said the giants had killed many Indians, many native peoples, and ate them. And so they had a big war one time. And that's so they killed off the giants as much as they could, because they were just, they were killed cannibalistic. That's what was going on. I mean, we think about stuff like that. Oh yeah, who's telling tales now? But there's things in history that they found in caves, pictures of such and such, and aliens, forces, you name it, whatever. And who knows what's left in the bottom of the pyramid, eh? My God. How many more pyramids are covered in sand? We'll find out one of these days.